I was pretty surprised they were talking at all today. Brian's easy to talk to, though. Were you surprised, and what do you make of what he said?
Yes, I was surprised. The majority of my background with the FBI was with task forces and embedded in police departments. And when the FBI takes the lead in an investigation, it is very unusual for a local PD to give an interview regarding that investigation, especially when the FBI isn't even giving any information about that investigation.
Right. So what would be the motivation, you think, in them talking? They certainly have been under some criticism in their involvement up until now.
I think that is the reason why they have stepped forward. I think they have been under a lot of criticism for Brian Laundrie being lost, for getting out of their surveillance eye, if indeed he was under surveillance, and other facets of the investigation. And I think that they're trying to come forward and give some information regarding why those things happened.
Didn't really clear it up, though. I mean, when Brian asked him about how they were surveilling Brian Laundrie and how he was able to slip away, he said, "We're working to figure that out."
Yes, my belief, based again on my experience, is that sometimes the head of the agency, in this case the chief, is briefed, but he's briefed by his under chief and then the person below that and the person below that. And sometimes the person that actually is on scene leading that surveillance group, leading the investigation, as the information goes up, it sometimes is not given out correctly.
Are there any consequences for local police coming out at this point and talking from the FBI? Will there be a conversation had later tonight? Hey, we didn't want you to do that.
There could be a conversation. I would not be surprised.
I want to talk about the Laundrie parents. They seem like the biggest thing that we can all collectively focus on right now, because somebody knows something, and their recollection of certain events is really being called into question. Some of the dates of when Brian may have went missing. If you're leading this investigation, how do you approach the parents? How are you handling the parents right now in questioning them, in keeping them involved?
Well, the biggest problem is for law enforcement is that they have retained counsel. And whenever counsel is retained, you just cannot broach talking to them. It's illegal. Does not fall within the FBI rules and regulations. And it, quite frankly, could seriously taint the investigation later. So they are not going to talk to the Laundrie family, but through going through their attorney. So that's the biggest obstacle. The biggest questions I would have concerns the whole situation with the details surrounding this disappearance. The 14th, of course, first reported. Then the 17th, I should say, reported that he left. Right. The 17th reported missing. But why, if your son was missing, left all of his items in his room, his credit cards, everything that could be traceable, especially knowing that Gabby, his fiance, who he purportedly loved, why in the world would they not be hugely concerned, even on the 15th when he didn't return? Then they go to the precise spot in this 24,000 acre reserve where the car is. And instead of calling police at that point, come get this vehicle. My son, we can't find him. Can you please see? That's where you would make the police report. Instead, they drive it back. And the confusion about the date, it's all very, very concerning.
It just doesn't add up, right? As we watch this day and day after unfold, how critical could Cassie be? Brian Laundrie's sister, we heard her come out on her front lawn, spoke publicly about what she knows, more importantly, what she says she doesn't know about Brian and what has happened. How does she play into all of this as investigators piece all these dates and details together?
Well, I would definitely be focusing on her. And the reason is she has tried to come forward. I don't think she has been as forthright as she could be. I know a lot of that is because her family has asked her not to be forthright. That is, the FBI has not asked her not to talk, but she has made overtures several times. She begins to say something and then pulls back, looks at her husband. When I watch her talk, when it's about critical questions, she looks down, she changes her eye position, she does all the things we're trained to look at to see that somebody is not being candid. She's the one I would try to give some sort of immunity to. So hopefully she could tell us what was discussed at DeSoto and what she truly knows.
Right. The last time she says she saw her brother in person. As more time passes, Jennifer, how much more difficult will it be for Brian Laundrie to hide?
I think it's going to continue to be difficult for law enforcement. All these leads begin to grow colder as this continues to be in the media. More and more people come forward. I really believe he's somewhere in Florida. I think it would be very unusual for someone to go to a place they have no familiarity with and try to hide out. And of course, that's why the Appalachian Trail is also in the conversation.
Where is he tonight? Jennifer Coffendorfer, as always, appreciate the insight. Thank you.